I'm making this PDF remediation training for those of you who attended my training this week. And I just want to quickly talk about PDF remediation using Adobe Acrobat Pro. The software is not something that you would consider easy to use, but you might need to know how to do this in order to make an accessible file for someone. We use PDFs because they have different properties. They're universal, they cross all digital platforms. You can set security on them. You can combine file types such as Adobe products with Microsoft products. You can have different size files like an 8.5 by 11 document with a large spreadsheet. And you can sync the forms that you can create with databases, and you can reduce the file size. You can also make them searchable. So there's a whole bunch of elements why we make PDF files. The reason we make PDF files accessible is that we want everyone to have access to them. We have a lot of files in universities and colleges that come from databases such as documents from interlibrary loans and documents that have been created from books. And you'll find them in the learning management system frequently from faculty. And usually staff is not trained to make them accessible. So today we're going to go over the techniques and tools to make those files accessible. And of course, everybody uses it. But that is why we strive to make these files accessible for everyone. Step one is to know how to use the tools and the panels. Over here on the left, we have this panel that we can open and close clicking on this arrow. And if we right click on that, we can set panels to show up. So you're going to need tags. You're going to need order. And you're definitely going to need bookmarks, but they're already there, as are the page thumbnails. So those are the things that I'm going to be talking about in our lesson. Over here on the far right, they also have the same type of arrow, and you can click on more tools, or you can come up here to tools, and we're going to add some things. We're going to add scan and OCR. We're going to add edit PDF. We're going to add prepare form. And most importantly, we're going to add accessibility. Now all those will show up and we're ready to go. So we're going to talk about the accessibility checker and how you can use that as a testing method, producing reports, showing you how to fix things, and also allows you to send the document that it produces to a document creator if they need to make fixes to the document. So we're going to talk about the accessibility tab here, the tool, and we're going to come up here and you see it says accessibility check. These are all the items it's going to check for. It will create an accessibility report if you tick this, and you can choose where it's going to put that, or you can attach it to the document and if you're going to send it back to someone. So we just start by clicking start checking, and all the issues are going to show up over here on the right. And so in this file, and you'll find in many files that the language and the title fail the test. You'll also see down here that this document has been tagged. You will also notice nothing on forms because it doesn't have any forms. If it doesn't have an item, it will still check it as taken care of. Here it does have one issue with alternative text. And so this is what you can use to help yourself. Now here for the title, you do have the ability to right click and then click fix. And you'll see that what it does is it takes the title of the document up here and puts it in that. But that's going to be something that I'd probably change. And we're going to have another slide to talk about setting the primary language and the title. The issues that we're covering in day one are the tagged and untagged and picture PDFs. We're going to talk about title, language, and security, we're going to talk about the manual checks, which are color, contrast, and logical reading order. We're going to talk about recognizing text and spell checking. We're going to deal with the tagging both automatically and manually. We're going to talk about how to mark up structure using headings and bookmarks. We're going to set up reading order on one file, and we're also going to talk about tagging artwork and images, graphics, and the like. So let's talk about the tagged and untagged PDFs and also picture PDFs just briefly so you have an idea what you're looking at and how to look at that. So I'm going to show you the difference between a tagged, untagged, and a picture PDF here. I have 3 PDFs and the first one is tagged, so the way you see that is you click on tag right here on the panel, and then you see that if I click on that arrow, all the tags are showing up. The second one is going to say no tags available. And the last one, when I run the accessibility check, it's going to show me that it's an image only PDF. So if I do the accessibility check on each one, it's also going to tell me the information about the tags. So here's the second one, and it does not have tags, and the first one does. So if I come to the accessibility check report, I can get the information as well. Some of the first things that you're going to see when you run the accessibility check is related to the title and language. And so we're going to go over some of the very easy things to work on first, and we're also going to cover security and talk about how to set the language to individual sections in your document. When you run the accessibility check, the first couple things that you want to correct outside of the tagging is the primary language and the title. In this file, they both failed. So I can just right click on title, click fix, and it fixes it. And I can right click on primary language and click fix and set the language. The other place to set the language to a file is to go up to File, Properties, and you'll see that if you're on the Advanced tab, you can set the language there. You can also add the actual title of a file by going to the Description tab. Another thing to note is that you can see under the Advanced area what PDF producer actually produced the file you're working in. Sometimes that will give you a clue on whether or not you can remediate the file very well. Now I have this other document here, this archaeology piece, and it has a title up here in English, and I'm going to right click and copy that, because when I get to the file properties, you'll see that it's in Italian. And if I click on the Advanced tab, it's going to show me it's Italian. So if I go back to the description here and select title, press Control A, and again Control V, it's going to type in the English title. Now let's run the accessibility check. And you'll see that the language passed, though we're going to have to check it, and the title failed. So what we do is we right click that and click fix. Let's go back to Properties, File, Properties, and verify that it's going to be in English. Come to the Advanced tab, and you see it still says Italian. So we're going to change that to English. Now, let's say you have in your document a piece of text that is actually in a foreign language. And all you have to do is highlight the text in the file and then come over here to Tags and then drop this down and find Tag from Selection. Oh, I must have deselected it. Okay, let's do that again. Find Tag from Selection. It will take you right to that content, and what you can do on each one of these pieces is to right click on them, go to Properties, and set the language to whatever language it may be in. That's outside of your normal language for the document. The first of the two manual checks we're going to handle will be the color contrast. And color contrast affects those with visual disabilities, and it also affects people who are colorblind. So you want to take a tool, and I'm going to use the color contrast analyzer tool that Phillip Group has up on their website. And it gives me two tools, one to do an eye drop for the foreground color and the other to do the eye drop for the background. So I'm going to click that and click on the background, and you see the background's white. And then I'm going to come to the foreground color, which is the color of the text. And so it gives me the results, and you can see that the color contrast has failed here for the blue color. So the question is, how do we change the light blue text on the white background? The easiest thing to do is to change the darkness of the light blue text, but you can't do it without going over here to the Edit PDF. So when you do that, you now have the ability to change the fonts and the colors of the font. So you see I have light blue here, and I can click and change it to a darker color, like that. And when you're done with the edit, you click close. When you go to the second manual check, you'll be talking about logical reading order. And that is something that is set by the software that produced the file. And you have to check it, and the best way to check it is to manually check it. And so I'm going to show you a file that has an error, and we can talk about how to fix it when I get there. Okay, we're looking at this PDF file, and this page has a problem in logical reading order. As you see, I'm highlighting into both columns at the same time. If I go to the next page, I get the left column, and then I get the right column. So this one's fine and the other one isn't. So let's go look at that real quick. We're going to go look at the reading order. And you see the page content is all one paragraph, so it doesn't distinguish between the columns there. And so what I would have to do is I would have to take this particular PDF page and remediate it using something like Adobe Fine Reader or OmniPage. We're again looking at this ancient Mesopotamian research document here, and again I'm going to click and show you that it has no tags. Now, I had mentioned earlier in one of the segments of this video that if you're going to go up to File menu and go to Properties, that sometimes you find that the PDF producer is some odd thing that you've never seen, and that's usually done by a publisher. And so sometimes you can't manually tag these, and this is one of those instances. So to manually tag something, I would be over here in the reading order panel, and I would drop down that panel, and then I would highlight something like this and select whatever heading or paragraph, or whether it's a figure or whatever. And so when I do that in this document, it fails. So I'm not able to actually manually mark up this particular content, but I am able to go over to Accessibility and click Auto Tag. Now I want to show you something when this gets finished, that the auto tagging will actually mark up the headings based on some kind of logic that Adobe Acrobat Pro has. So if I come over here to the part that has that heading, you see it's marked as heading 2. And then keywords down in here somewhere, there we go, keywords is actually marked up as like heading 5 or 4 or something. Let me see. So it's not actually in the order that I wanted in. First of all, I would just double click on the H4 for the actual title. No, it's H2, and change the 2 to a 1. So you can go ahead and mark up the auto tag content to fit your purposes. And in this case, the author's name, I'm not even going to have a tag on other than a paragraph. And so, you can then put them in the right order. So you have 1, 2, 3, or however you want them. You shouldn't skip tags from like H2 to H4. You need H2, H3, and H4. And that's that. And when I come back over here to this archaeology document, I'm going to show you how you use the reading order panel to tag content. And then I select the text with this box, like that, and click paragraph. And you see now it's showing me the page content order, but I want to show the structure type, so it's going to show you as a paragraph. And then I have an image. So you want to do these in the proper reading order as well. So I select the image, and if it's something that isn't actually going to give any content, you can just click background artifact. And it's kind of a toss-up whether to do that in this, because there is a description down here in figure 9. So if I were to artifact that and then come to figure 9 and then make that say a heading, I don't know, depends on where I am in the document, but you can then choose what heading it's going to have or make it text. Depends on whether you want it to be something they can find in the document structure. So you do that for the content, and that's the manual way of doing it. It takes a long time. I don't know which is better, because you're going to have to fix the auto tagging anyway. The next piece we're going to talk about is how to take a picture PDF and OCR and then spell check it. So here's our file, and you'll note right away that there's an image that came up when it was scanned, and they scan 2 pages at a time, which is a problem. But again, we know from looking at the tagging that there are no tags at all. As a matter of fact, when we ran the accessibility report, the accessibility check, it told us that this was a picture. So the way you fix that is you come over here to the scan and OCR. So you click on that, and the first thing I want to do is recognize the text in this file, and then I click the recognize text button, and it's going to go through the file and find all the content. Now, when a page is crooked, it's going to cause more spelling problems than normal, and some of the tables and other icons that are up there that have text on them will also be problematic. But we're almost done here. So once you get that done, the next thing you can do is use the spell checking. And that's going to be right here. You're going to click on correct recognize text. And so it's going to show you an image of what it sees as an error, and then you can type over in this box what you actually think it should actually read. And so you're going to be doing that through the entire document, and you'll notice that when I skip to the other page that's crooked, there's a whole bunch of spelling errors. So if I click on one of them, it's going to show you that it's angled, and so this says example, comma, so I can change that, and that's how you do it. And when you finish the entire thing, you are going to, each one you can click accept, and when you finish all of it, you're going to click close. The next thing we're going to talk about is the structural markup. We've already talked about the tagging of the auto tag feature and how you have to make sure your tags are in an order like H1, H2, H3, and so on. When you do that, you're also able to add another component to a PDF, and that is the bookmarks. So you can build bookmarks if your structure is all in place. And the way you do that is you come up here to the bookmarks tool, and you see currently there's no bookmarks. So you have an automatic way and manual way. In this particular file, if I wanted to add a bookmark manually, I would just highlight the item and then come up here and click plus, and it's going to add that. I'm going to delete that because I want to show you the automatic way. So on the automatic way, you drop this down and you do new bookmarks from structure. And when you do that, it's going to give you the choice of how deep into the document you want to go. You know, in this case, let's say you only want the top 3, so you're going to click on H1 and then press your Shift key and hold down until those 3 are highlighted. And then you can click OK. And then it wants you to title them, so I'm going to call it Listing of Bookmarks. Now the bookmarks are going to give someone who uses a keyboard access to the content on your file so that it has some kind of structure for them to move through. It is also going to help people who are visually impaired using screen readers. Of course, a screen reader user such as a person using JAWS 2020 is also going to be able to press a keystroke to list all the headings in the document. But this is a great way to add more structure to your document. And so I want to add a little other component that might help you with your structure to your documents, and that has to do with page numbering. And in this PDF file, if you look down here at the bottom, if I enlarge this a bit, if I scroll down here and go to the page break, it's really hard to keep it there, and I scroll over, you'll see that this first page is actually 79. So a person who is actually trying to cite from this document needs to know what page they're on. One of the ways you can do that is you can come over here to the page thumbnails and drop this down until you see page labels. Then what you do is you put it on all, right here, the radio button, and then you type the starting page to be the actual page number of the journal, and then you click OK. And so now instead of it saying 1 up here, it says 79. We're going to talk about the settings for reading order now. And I have a file that is a flyer which was sent to me, and the order of it was all out of order because it was probably created in InDesign, and the person making it probably wouldn't know anything about making an accessible PDF. I was sent this flyer and I went ahead and remediated it, and I wanted to show you the end results first. So if you go here to the Show Reading Order panel and you select the page content order, you're going to see the numbering of the way the content is going to be read. And when this is open, the panel is open, you're also going to see the actual items as I go through it. And some of the images I made an artifact of so that they actually don't interfere with the reading. And you see that I'm going here with one, and then I go through this table, and then when I finish the table, I come over here to this column, and then I come down here and read down through here. One of the things that you may not know about is that you have on your view here, you have the read out loud, and you can activate that using Shift, Control, and Y, and then you can read the page by pressing Shift, Control, V. Now, it's not an actual screen reader like JAWS or NVDA or maybe VoiceOver, but it is a way for you to actually hear the reading order, and that's something I wanted to mention. Now let's go ahead and look at what the document looked at originally, and you'll see that the content starts down here with this material down here, and that's not what we want at all. Now number 4 here is actually something that I was set as a background artifact, and let's see where we're at. We want to make number 4 our number 1. Now when I click on that and drag that up to the top, you see I drop it, now it's at the top and it's number 1, and then I'd have to go through this table and mark that content up, and it's actually listed as 15. Now another thing that you can do while you're in the process of doing this is you can go and find your fit tag. So I'm going to highlight that, and then I'm going to come over here and find tag from selection, and it doesn't have any kind of heading tag on it. You might want to add a heading tag while you're going through the reading order as well. So the object here is to get your content to read in the order that you would like. And the person who made this probably made this with InDesign or something like that. I can come up here and look under the file and then go to properties, and it's telling me that the PDF maker producer was the Adobe PDF library, and so that could come from a zillion different things. And notice up here it actually tells me the application, Adobe InDesign. Now there could be another training someday on how to use InDesign to make accessible PDFs, but I don't have time to do that in the 2-day sessions. The last thing we're going to talk about in this day 1 session is the tagging of the artwork, which would include charts and graphics and photographs and whatever artwork is in the document. In this document, we're going to look at the images and mark them up. First thing to know is that when you do the accessibility check, it's going to look at the images. And so you can come over here where it says alternative text, and it says figures alternative text failed. So what we can do is we can drop that down, and you see there's a series of figures here. Now the easy thing to do is to right click that one and click fix. Now it's not going to do anything for you, it's just going to open up a box where you can type in an alt tag for each image or select them as a decorative figure. So this is how you can go about doing it. The other way you can do it is to come over here to the tags, and then you're going to select some of the content in the text, and you're going to find that tag from selection, and you're going to see that the information is right underneath the figure, right? So here's the actual content, and here is it is listed as a caption, and it's supposed to be a figure. And so what you can do is you can right click on that, click on properties, and type in an alternative text for your figure right here. If it differs from the description in the figure, then that's what you do. If you don't want that at all, then what you might want to do is go the other route like I showed you, and go back to your accessibility check, and it makes it a lot easier to mark them up as decoratives if you choose to make them decoratives. And when you do that, you just select this arrow and continue to go through the rest of the content that you need to fix. And when you get done with the 15, well, I'll just make them all decoratives. And then you click Save and Close. And now you get a green check mark and you're done.